Hi there, Rick with Smart Drive Test, talking to you today about the top 10 things that you need to do to be successful on a road test. For the purposes of a road test, you must demonstrate to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle at all times. Underpinning due care and control of the vehicle at all times is speed and space management. You must have control of the speed of the vehicle, appropriate to the environment and the traffic in which you're in, and you must have space management. You must not get too close to other fixed objects or other vehicles on the road. We'll be right back to tell you what those top 10 ways to be successful on your road test are. Hi there, welcome back. The number one way to pass your road test and be successful is practice. Practice, practice, practice. The more practice you get driving the vehicle that you are going to road test on, whether it's a bus, a truck, or a car, or a motorcycle, practice. Get as much driving time as you can. Driving a vehicle is not a spectator sport. You can't watch somebody else do it and learn how to drive. You have to get behind the wheel. You have to get comfortable with the primary controls of the vehicle, and you have to develop a hazard perception catalog. A catalog of different scenarios that come together in any combination of the 6 driving task criteria. And you see that in another video that can get you into danger. So practice, practice, practice. The second way to be successful on your road test is slow speed maneuvers. Go out to a parking lot, set up some cones, do some forward figure 8s, backing around corners, reverse figure 8s, into stall parks, drive in tight laneways. Anything that you can do that will help you to do slow speed maneuvers. The ability to control the vehicle at a slow speed in a tight space, all of those skills that you learn to do that are transferable and will make your overall driving better. Practice slow speed maneuvers. The third way, parallel park. Ooh, the dreaded parallel park. Everybody hates the parallel park. It is the most difficult slow speed maneuver that you have to conduct on a road test for a Class 5 or a G1 license. Parallel parking. If you don't know how to do it and you don't get clear instruction from your parents or your other people who are helping you in your family, go to a driving school, get professional help, and they will help you to parallel park. Now, when you're practicing in a neighborhood and you're parallel parking off a car, do it 2 times and then move on and find another vehicle. But you have to be able to parallel park, regardless of the fact that we know as traffic authorities that 70% of drivers will never parallel park again. But it is the key to you as a new driver demonstrating to the examiner and the authorities that you have due care and control of the vehicle. Practice parallel parking. The fourth way to be successful on your road test, back up as much as possible. Begin backing up in straight lines, then back around corners. One of the things you're going to have to do is do a 2-point reverse turn. So you're going to have to pull past the driveway or a laneway or a parking space, and you're going to have to back around the corner and then reverse in the opposite direction. So back into the laneway and then drive forward and pull out again. Backing. The more backing you can do, the more comfortable you become with the vehicle and the primary controls. The steering wheel, the throttle, the brake. Back up. And when you get really comfortable with backing, go out to the parking lot, set up your cones, and do reverse figure 8s. Reverse figure 8s. When you think you got it all figured out and you can master those, then you're probably ready for your road test. Number 5, the other way to get better at driving is parking. Parking in mall parking lots or any congested parking lot is a good way to learn more about the vehicle. You see lots of people backing out of a parking space in a mall parking lot and they get into a tight corner or the front's just gonna miss and you see them in the car and the car sucks in No, the car doesn't have the suck-in feature where it gets smaller. Actually, what happens is as they get into a tight space, they slow down, and the slower any vehicle goes, the sharper it turns. So keep that in mind when you're parking, you're backing up, or you're doing any other slow speed maneuvers. The slower you go, the sharper the vehicle turns. So the sixth way to be successful on your road test is shoulder checking. I cannot stress this enough. You must shoulder check. You cannot do too much shoulder checking, but if you do too little, you're not going to be successful. So every time you make a lateral movement, shoulder check. Every time you make a turn, shoulder check as you're coming up to the turn, and then shoulder check immediately before the turn. So if you're turning right, shoulder check to the right, and then shoulder check again as you make the turn. You don't need to turn more than 90 degrees. Just turn your head 90 degrees. Your peripheral vision will take care of the rest. But shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. That is the sixth way of being successful on a road test. Number 7, to be successful on a road test, do a mock test. If you haven't been involved in driver training with a professional driving instructor, go to a school and tell them that you want to do a mock test, and go out with an instructor and do a mock test. They will be able to identify the gaps in your abilities and skills and tell you what you need to brush up on or work on to be successful on a road test. Remember, driving instructors prepare people for road tests every day. They know what skills and abilities you need to have to be successful on a road test. So number 7, do a mock road test. Number 8, on the day of your road test, do a pre-trip inspection on the vehicle. Check the lights, check the horns, check the windshield wipers. Make sure that everything is good. Make sure that you have the registration and insurance in the glove box. Make sure that you have a license plate on the front and the rear of the vehicle if your province or state requires that you have a license plate on the front and the rear. Make sure that the decals are valid. Make sure that the seat belts work, that the seats are secure, that nothing is floating around in the car. Get rid of all of the garbage, because examiners do not want to sit in a car that is filthy dirty. Leave the pets at home. Make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection, because if you have a signal light out or you have a brake light out, they will not go out on a road test for you. So make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection. Don't just get Uncle John's car and show up at the pre-trip, or up at the test rather, because you may not be able to go out on your road test. So take the time, do a pre-trip inspection in the morning before you show up for your road test. If you're going with a driving school, make sure that you ask the driving instructor if he or she has done a pre-trip inspection on the vehicle before you show up for the road test. Number 9 is the correct paperwork. Make sure that you have your paperwork to show up for the road test so that you can take your road test. You will need your learner's license. You will need a secondary piece of ID. And I would even bring a third piece of ID if you're a new driver, just in case. You will also need money, because there's a cost involved in taking the road test, and any other paperwork that you think that you might need. If you're unsure, contact your local authority, the MTO in Ontario, ICBC in British Columbia, the Ministry of Transportation in Alberta, and so on and so forth. Have the correct paperwork. You don't want to show up and not have the correct paperwork, because if you don't have the correct paperwork, they won't let you take your road test. So check to make sure that you got your paperwork. And number 10 is poop, breathe, visualize. When you go in for your road test, sign in, take the time, take a moment, go to the toilet, because there's nothing worse than trying to do a road test if you got to go to the bathroom. Pretty tough to be successful if you got your legs crossed. So go to the toilet. Remember, breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, breathe to your navel. This will force you to relax. You're very nervous, so breathe. And finally, through all of your practice, visualize the instructor saying to you, you passed. If you visualize it in the head, it is much higher probability that you're going to be successful on your road test. So the last one, poop, breathe, visualize. go to the toilet, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, breathe all the way into your navel. Visualize passing your road test. So in conclusion, the top 10 ways to be successful on your road test: practice driving, slow speed maneuvers, parallel park, backing, parking, shoulder check, do a mock test, figure out where the gaps might be in your abilities and knowledge for a road test. Before the road test, do a pre-trip inspection of the vehicle. Don't get caught out because you can't go on your road test because the vehicle's not up to standard for the authority where you're taking your license. Paperwork. Make sure you have the right paperwork before you show up for the the road test rather. Finally, poop, breathe, visualize. Go to the toilet, breathe, visualize yourself being successful. Good luck on your road test. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. If you like the channel, subscribe below, hit the like button. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Bye now.